Jonathan Lee Riches investigates. I am covering the Moscow, Idaho Bryan Kohberger case. Let's talk about Bryan Kohberger and Dennis Rader, also known as BTK. The BTK, Killer, out of Wichita, Kansas. Remember BTK, the man that terrorized the community in the 70s through the 80s into the early 90s. Remember that guy, BTK? Well, I strongly recommend everyone go check out BTK's sentencing when he confessed to the judge about the 10 MURDERs that he said he did. Because he talks in detail. BTK talks in detail to the judge specifically what he did. And when I listened to this, because I listened to this yesterday, my mind started spinning like, oh my gosh, there is a lot of similarities here between BTK and what Bryan Kohberger did. For instance, at BTK sentencing, he said how he would go into these random people's homes. He was like talking about, trolling these people, trying to understand, and then getting into the stalking aspect, and then just going into random people's homes. But once inside the homes, he said that like he would tell everyone in there, he'd tie them up, and then tell them what he's going to do, and also telling them everything is going to be okay. He would tell these victims that before ending up MURDERING them. He would say everything was going to be okay. And I saw that and I'm like, whoa, isn't that what Bryan Kohberger said? According to Dylan Mortensen, when Dylan Mortensen woke up and heard somebody say, everything's going to be okay or everything's going to be all right kind of deal. That's one. Number two, Catherine Ramsland. She was Bryan Kohberger's professor at DeSales. We know this, and I made a video about this. And she also wrote a book about BTK. So I'm just wondering, during the course of Bryan Kohberger's studies at DeSales, before he ended up going out to Pullman, Washington, Moscow, Idaho, I wonder if, Ramsland and Kohberger actually had in-depth conversations or her teachings was about BTK that Bryan Kohberger possibly got fascinated with. Because I really do see similarities between BTK and Bryan Kohberger. Now, BTK, when he went for his arraignment for his case years ago, when he went for his arraignment, he did not speak at his arraignment at all. He didn't even speak. So it makes me wonder now, when Bryan Kohberger gets arraigned because he got an indictment, is he going to pull the BTK card and not speak at his arraignment? That will be interesting to see. Also, BTK was ready to go to trial, and then suddenly he just pled guilty and confessed to the judge at the beginning at the trial, like at the beginning when the trial was about to start, he pleads guilty. I wonder if Bryan Kohberger is going to do the same, drag this through, and then eventually at trial, the beginning of trial, he just says, I confess, and then explains in detail what exactly he did at that Moscow home. I think Bryan Kohberger's guilty. I think the family and the victims in this case would want to hear Bryan Kohberger's version out of his own mouth, instead of, a lot of times defendants hide behind their lawyers, and you actually never really get the truth. You actually get what the prosecution presents as the truth. But wouldn't it be fascinating if Bryan, and great for the community and everyone in general as a whole, humanity, even the victims' families, everyone, Bryan Kohberger explained out of his own mouth what happened that day, November 13th, 2022. I am covering the Bryan Kohberger case. Just wanted to share that information about BTK. Go check out, I strongly recommend, go check out his, when he confessed in court. It's very, very fascinating. And I do feel like it's, Kohberger took similar patterns. Case in point, like people are trying to say there's a connection between Bryan Kohberger and a victim are trying to find a connection between them. What about Bryan Kohberger just did random and just picked them out of the blue, like at his own eyes, and just saw it? I'm going to pick this. Kind of like what the BTK seems like he did. You know, we're all trying to find some sort of connection. A lot of people out there putting conspiracies and names out there trying to find that connection between Bryan Kohberger and the victims. But, you know, it might be just how it is, you know, just picking a random group of people and just don't know them from a can of beans and just do what he did. It's a very strong possibility. We'll talk soon. Everyone stay safe. God bless.